Welcome back to TribPreps. I'm Eric Lee alongside Todd Sommerfeldt. It's his early Saturday morning, but we're coming at you with another video here to recap Friday night's football games. We're officially through week 1 of football here in Wisconsin. I guess I'll just start with scores real quick, and then we can dive into our games. I was at Baraboo on Alaska, which was a crazy ending. Baraboo wins 28-21. You were at Logan, Eau Claire Memorial, which was 13-0, correct?
13-0 Logan, yes.
Yeah. Big win for the Rangers to start the year.
Absolutely.
Aquinas over Prairie du Chien, 49-15. West Salem over GET, 48-0. Mauston over Toma, 46-30. Luther over Blair Taylor, 40-7. DeSoto over Wisconsin Rapids Assumption, 34-31. Brookwood over CFC, 34-14. Arcadia, 22. Lancaster, 6. Sparta falling to Baldwin. Woodville, 17-6. Viroqua losing to Dodgeville, 40-20. Black River Falls losing to Nakusa, 46-21. And Westby falling to Blackhawk, 20-13.
Yes.
What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Rangers, or do you want to start with
Hilltoppers? I think we need to
Hilltoppers?
start with yours, because you were just saying you still can't believe this game happened.
I can't.
Or weren't convinced it happened. So
can't.
talk through it and let's see if we can get to the bottom of things here.
Yeah. So, bottom line is that Baraboo scored twice in the final minute of this game. That included recovering an onside kick. There were another number of other things that went just completely
penalties
sideways. But let's start like 4 minutes left in the game.
Okay.
Because Alaska they make a good defensive stop. Baraboo's driving the ball.
They're up 7 at this point.
They're up 7 at this point, yes. They're up 21-14 at this point in the game. Baraboo had been driving, and they go for it on 4th down. I believe it was 4th and 3 from the 22, on Alaska's 22.
Okay.
And Baraboo runs a reverse, and Alaska snuffs it out. I mean, they pick up 2 yards, but they're short. They're short. Right, yeah.
Defensive stop.
Yeah, exactly. So they get the ball, 4 minutes left on their own 20. Granted, the offense, it was not, I don't know, it just wasn't clicking essentially all night. But this is obviously a huge possession, right? Where if you can get a couple first downs,
then it's over.
Exactly, right. You can put the game away here.
Get a lot of time off just by, depending timeout situation, just getting 1 first down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. First play of the drive, intentional grounding, Aiden Larson.
Okay.
So you're back at the 5, and it's 2nd and 25, just like that.
Okay.
So I mean, it's like, what do you do from there?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta try to run the ball, especially considering. I mean,
at that point, yes.
You've got a young offensive line, and Aiden, he'd been facing pressure, a decent, not an absurd amount of pressure, I don't think, but he was running around a pretty decent amount all night. So you don't want to throw the ball in that scenario. But the flip side is, again, with a young offensive line, and without an Albert Romero like last year, how many yards can you pick up? And the answer there was not very many. So they punt. Baraboo gets the ball back with 2 minutes to go.
Okay.
And they're on Alaska 34. It was not a long punt.
Sure.
They actually there was a good punt actually that was called back for illegal procedure. I think their motion guy was heading toward the line of scrimmage.
Okay. So they had a good.
They had a good punt, and then it was called.
All right.
So they had to punt again.
Not so good.
So we can call that opportunity 1, if you will, that Alaska had. And at this point too, Baraboo's taking the field, and Luna Larson, right, their quarterback, dual threat, was sensational, especially at least in the first half against them last year to close the season. He's on the sidelines as they take the field for this upcoming possession, because on the previous punt, he had gone in and tried to block it, and then was laying essentially at the goalpost with cramps in both of his calves.
Okay.
So he's on the sideline battling cramps as Baraboo's taking the field. He eventually gets on the field and completes a 15-yard screen pass on a 3rd and 13. to pick up the first down, and 2 plays later throws a 20-yard touchdown pass, and the kid makes a diving catch. I want to get his name right. Riley Way, either Way or Y,
Okay.
makes a diving catch in the end zone, and I mean it's like holy cow! I mean it's suddenly a tie game. If they make the extra point, he gets up, puts his hands up, flips the ball, and gets called for an unsportsmanlike penalty, which bumps them back to the 18, and they don't get the 2. There's a short story. Larson tried to scramble, and almost made it happen. He was pushed out at about the 4.
Okay. So on a still point here.
On a still up a point, right? And they've got an onside kick. There are 40 seconds left at this point. You're up a point, 40 seconds left. If you get the onside kick, the game is over. And fittingly enough, Way was the kicker, and he kicks it to arguably the person that Onalaska would want him to kick it to, in Michael Skemp, but he can't corral it. And Baraboo falls on it. They've got, a little under 40 seconds now, right? 2 incomplete passes, and then a long pass down the sideline, 31 yards from Larson to Way. And then a personal foul away from the ball. I didn't see what happened, but a personal foul away from the ball at the end of that play, so that moves them to the 9. And next play, Larson to Way for 9 yards, touchdown, and just like it. This all happened, in a span of like 4 or 5 minutes too. So it's like
I can see why you can't believe what you saw.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that that's the game started in a pretty good way for Alaska within itself, and I mean I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit last night, but Alaska, Cy Smith blocks and recovers a punt to start the game, and they're up 7-0 just like that in the game's first possession. But it's lost in in everything.
Everything was lost in the ending.
Yeah, but a crazy game. Luna Larson is as good as advertised on both sides of the ball. He was a menace defensively too.
And what do you have for passing and rushing?
Passing, he was 15 to 24 for 223 and 3 touchdowns. Yashinsky said that they said going in, like, we want to make him beat us with his arm, and like if he does that, like, you tip your cap. And he's like, well, I guess we got to do that because that's what he did. I mean, 3 touchdown passes in the second half.
And he ran for
he ran for 114 and a touchdown.
Okay.
And the touchdown run was in the first half, and it came on a bad snap, a low snap that like squibbled past him. He like picked it up and like turned around this way, and then turned it back around this way, and he made a 6-yard touchdown run. He probably covered 30 or 40 yards on this 6-yard touchdown run.
So a tough loss for Alaska tonight.
Yeah.
But probably at least on some level encouraged with the way it played against a team that has pretty high expectations. And they always have high expectations in Alaska too, but I think people really think a lot of Baraboo this year, and the fact that Anna was right there with them.
I think defensively especially.
Okay.
I don't think offensively they are
so
super click.
Yeah.
No, they didn't click. They had 74, 76, less than 80 yards of offense in the first half, and they finished with 160.
And that's very on Alaska.
Right, exactly. Defensively, they were pretty solid, but the problem was that since the offense wasn't clicking, the defense was on the field like the whole game. It felt like, so that wears on you, obviously. I know that they're not going to use that as an excuse for the defensive lapses toward the end of the game, but I mean it's part of it, right?
Yeah.
But defensively, I mean, sure, Luna Larson, totals more than 300 yards on his own, but I mean, you're right there. I mean, you held them off the board. I mean, they really only had 14 points until the last 2 possessions, and that's really what's important. So, I think overall, yes, not pleased with end result, but there are good things to take away.
Okay.
And it sounds like you saw a good defensive performance.
Yeah.
Too.
I saw something I wasn't expecting. With the Rangers going out and shutting out Eau Claire Memorial, holding them to 68 yards, and they had 70 on one drive.
Yeah, that's nuts.
which is the amazing part. I mean, Logan went out and scored on the first possession. Takes a 7-0 lead, which has to help with the confidence. I mean, they have a Logan has a young team this year, not a lot of kids. They suited up 34, I counted during pregame. So, not a ton of kids out there. And as Casey said after the game, that little group beat a school of 1,600.
Yeah.
So a big win for Logan. I think a lot of people expected Memorial to be able to come in and score. Memorial, obviously the better of the Eau Claire schools, with North losing 49 in a row. But, Memorial hasn't been that kind of program in recent years. They've been winning games. So I think people expected them to come in and win this thing. But Logan was aggressive. They played good defense from the front all the way back.
Yeah.
Johnny Lever, sophomore, had 2 interceptions for the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Had one of them, he caught it and had open path in the end zone and fell down, tripped on the line. Eli Reynolds had that happen to him once too on a carry. Had a nice open path on a nice cut that he made, but then he fell down. So they missed a couple opportunities there, but they did a lot of direct snaps tonight. Sam Veenstra was a guy who took a few of those. He scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter to kind of put things away. Martell Owens was a beast. Jumped off sides on the very first snap and responded with a sack, and then a hit at the line of scrimmage or behind it, I can't remember, on the first 2 actual snaps of the game. So he was right there, and they moved Owens around, put him on the end, put him over the nose different times, and he was effective all night. Veenstra was really good at linebacker. Another guy that we have to make mention of, Noah Geschwind, played on the offensive line and played linebacker and did great both ways. They have him listed 5'10", 175, so he's a small lineman, but that offensive line played really well for Reynolds tonight and for quarterback Josh Waite. He pretty much had time to throw in the times that he needed to. But Reynolds I think he had 28 carries.
Okay.
So they used him a lot tonight, 123 yards.
Okay.
Moved the ball consistently. So I think if you're Logan, boy, you got all kinds of things to be happy about with this. And, Coach said they had some tough practices recently, but they kind of righted the ship on Wednesday.
Okay.
After the game, he told them this game was won on Wednesday, and that's kind of where he saw a little bit of an attitude change, I think, in the way the team was practicing. So, like I said, good debut for a team that I think needs to try and build some confidence. They ended the spring season by beating Central, which I think was really good for them, the returning guys.
Yeah.
But that still was a little while ago. This is a different group. And,
and
you can use some of that as momentum, but you still have to go out and do it as the group you are now. And they had a lot of young guys on the field today, and they went out and did it. So a second city team opening with a shutout.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one, right, that didn't, and that would be...
Aquinas didn't, but they scored 49, so that 36 in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's crazy. The stat that jumped out to me when you were talking about the Aquinas game was that Jackson Flotmeyer, he was 7 of 8 passing, which is, that's good, right? For 245 yards.
Yes, they went for
that is insane. That is insane.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, a good start for the Blue Golds. A surprise. I mean, I want to pause, I guess, and maybe we can talk about how surprising is it that West Salem won 48-0. I think it's surprising. I mean, not to discredit West Salem or anything, right? Because as we talked about last night a little bit, they're a solid team with a lot of really good guys. That you're pretty high on them, but GET, I mean, you don't expect that.
Yeah, GET doesn't lose games like that. I'd have to go back and look to see, but it's probably been a while since something like that's happened. And we didn't get a ton of details on that game, so it's hard to say exactly what happened. But I think West Salem just kind of showed the kind of offense it has. They're not going to go out and score 48 every week, but they certainly did tonight. There might be a little to the transition to a new coach for the Red Hawks there. But yeah, I think I expected it to be a much better game than that, just because it's been a long time since GET has been that kind of a team. I mean, they have a really good recent tradition. there. So it's kind of like you have to wait and see it until you believe it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you know, maybe we have to believe we got to give GET some time to kind of figure out what it's doing in this new regime.
Right. For sure. For sure. Are there any other things that you really wanted to mention here?
I think that the Luther win over Blair
Yeah.
Taylor, even though Blair Taylor lost a lot of seniors, I think that's still a good win for Luther. I think it looks like Dylan Yang played pretty well tonight for them. So I would say that.
Yeah, I mean he had 101 yards on the ground, and he threw a touchdown pass also.
I think he ran for a couple. I think
he ran for 2 touchdowns, threw a touchdown pass. So I mean that's good. And Josiah Larson with a solid start to his senior year, 121 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. So
and Arcadia off to a good start, holding Lancaster to 6 points. A lot of people remember Lancaster being the state power. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, but anytime you beat them is a good win for your team. And Lancaster scored the first touchdown of that game, so Arcadia scored the last 22.
Yeah.
So a good way for them to get started this year, too.
For sure. Well, that'll wrap it up for us here.
Yes.
We'll be here next week, again, ready to break down some more high school football. You can find all of this stuff always at lacrossetribune.com. For more videos, you can check out our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Lacrosse Tribune. You can find us there. You can subscribe so then you get alerts, so then you never miss a video. That would be nice.
Yes.
But we will hope to see you guys again next week.